Can you all be seated, please? Good evening. I'd like to welcome all members to the Chamber, and for those who are here for the first time, I draw your attention to the helpful guidance provided at the top of the tabled order paper. Can I ask members, when speaking, to speak directly into the microphone? This will enable members and members of the public to hear. Can I remind members and members of the public to place their mobile phones to silent and to stand where possible when speaking? Can I also remind those members who wish to speak this evening to keep their hands up until acknowledged by the Chief Executive? To remind members, the meeting is being live streamed, and we welcome the members of the public in the gallery watching and listening to the Council meeting tonight. I would like to remind all members of the Council's adopted Code of Conduct for Councillors, which you agreed to and are expected to adhere to. This evening, may I ask my mayoral chaplain, Father David Rollins, from St Mary the Virgin Church in Corringham, to lead us in prayer, please.
As we gather, I invite those of other faiths and none to pause and reflect on the responsibilities to serve and meet the needs of the local community. Heavenly Father, we pray for this our community of Thurrock. We pray for our elected leaders and the officers of the council, that they may work together to meet the needs of our local community. We pray that all who live in Thurrock may know your love and care, and that friendships may be strengthened with those whom we share our lives and live alongside. We ask this through our Lord and Saviour, Jesus Christ. Amen. And may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us all evermore. Amen.
I would like to take a minute's silence this evening in honour of Henry Novak, as we pause to remember and reflect on his life with sadness at his passing. Henry Novak, an 18-year-old university student from Trafford 100, sadly lost his life in Southampton in December 2025. I would also like to take this opportunity to remember Terry Piccolo, former Mayor of Thurrock from 2019 to 2021. Terry served a 2-year term as Mayor during the challenging period of the COVID-19 pandemic, demonstrating dedication and commitment to the borough and its residents throughout an unprecedented time. One more, I would just like to take a minute's silence for Anne Widdicombe, who was tragically taken from us recently. Thank you. Item 1, apologies for absence. Please note the apologies received on page 1 of the order paper. Are there any further apologies for absence? Item 2, minutes. I move that the minutes of the meetings of 27th of May 2026 on pages 7 to 16 of the agenda be approved as a correct record. Is that seconded? Is any member in disagreement?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Is any member in disagreement with the accuracy of the minutes? These minutes are approved. Item 3, declaration of interests. Are there any declarations of interest to be made? Please refer to the monitoring officer's advice on page 2 of the order paper. Councillor Abbas.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, I've asked a question on Grace Convent, and my daughter also attends the school.
Duly noted. Councillor Bingley.
Thank you. It's just precautionary. I intend to speak on Freeport, and I am a board director of Freeport.
Thank you, Councillor. Item 4, announcements on behalf of the Mayor and the Leader of the Council. There are no Thurrock names listed who fell in World War II. I have decided that instead of appointing a dedicated consort, different councillors will accompany me at events through my term. I would like to announce that Councillor Sarah Points has kindly agreed to be the Deputy Mayor's consort. I would also like to thank Councillor Shunick for her service as Mayor for this previous year. I will now invite the leader to make his announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It feels like a lifetime, actually, since we last met at the AGM on the 27th of May. And I'm pleased to say that this administration has begun business with acceleration, purpose, and with values driving us. This is a reset, as I said back 2 months ago. I won't make announcements about all the meetings we've all done. I think it spreads into the hundreds, if not the thousands. But it's fair to say that a huge amount of energy and coordination has already hit Thurrock Council and the streets outside. And that's why we all got elected. We got elected to fundamentally change the presentation and the approach and the way this community is run and governed and how the council is held accountable. And we will do that without fear or favour. One of the things that is occurring at the moment is something that Harold Wilson called events. Lots of external things coming towards Thurrock, including something called reorganisation, or LGR, local government reorganisation. So we've had a number of meetings on that with ministers online, with commissioners, with other councillors that lead boroughs, phone calls with county leaders and the rest of it. It's fair to say it takes up rather a lot of time, despite government assurances that it's seamless and it's not a distraction. But I'm pleased to say that despite this happening to us, and we're not happy with it, we oppose it, we will work constructively towards making South West Essex Council the best unitary council in Britain if that happens to us. We will lead constructively. We will work together as a team. Meetings have now involved staff members, and I'm pleased to say that senior staff members have been meeting, and it's an opportunity in the future to build joint IT systems, reduce management costs, work smartly, bring technology into quite old, antiquated municipal systems, and we should seize that opportunity in the best possible way. That said, we do note that we are listed as an interested party by Essex County Council in a potential judicial review. And unfortunately, no matter how that plays out, this is an instrument of local government legislation, so that judicial review might not have the impact that we all hope it does. So it's our duty to prepare. We've got officers meeting, and soon I would ask councillors and council leaders in Basildon to join that joint preparation committee that councillors will be asked to do. It's only right that councillors and council leaders across the boroughs that are being merged together, it's only right that we meet to deliver services that are best for our public in the future. We can't put our heads in the sand. With that in mind, I don't know how politics will play out over the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years. What I do know is it won't just be reform councillors that are involved in that mix. So I've asked Councillor Green, I've asked Councillor Abbas to meet with me from September so that we can give some internal oversight into the sort of staff and the technical processes, and also gain from their point of view what is it that how is it that other MPs and other parties are approaching this. I think on this one, shared knowledge is the best way forward. I'd close on that by saying that we have been promised by government that they would pay our costs for local government reorganisation. The costs have been worked out by our finance officer to be 6.2 million over 3 years. I find it quite ironic from central government that they're not just forcing this on us, but they're only giving us something to the tune of 900,000 for the entire thing. And that 5 million shortfall will have a massive, massive impact on frontline services in Thurrock. It's delusional to think otherwise. I'm delighted to have joined the Freeport Board on behalf of Thurrock. The other two boroughs on there, Havering, Barking and Dagenham, of course. This is a multi-billion-pound business investment zone with huge tax incentives. In fact, I've been involved in bidding for them before. The Freeport is projected to attract 4.5 to 5 billion pounds of inward investment into Thurrock, Barking, Dagenham, Havering over the next few years. And it's also projected to generate around 21,000 to 25,000 jobs. So far, it's generated around 1,500 jobs. So I think with our direct leadership, new boroughs, new leaders, a political grip occurring in those places, we are keen that those business investments actually translate into projects within the communities. So I was pleased to see at that Freeport board, and we agreed to 41, we call them interventions, but they are community-focused projects. Some of them are major. You know, it revolves around increasing, for example, railway capacity in the East Tilbury part of the borough, for Havering, Bean Park. And, but ultimately, you're seeing put forward investment into AI institutes and real good sort of riverside community regeneration, etc. And we can, I think, springboard off of that to provide a lot of local regeneration over the next few years. We don't necessarily have to be looking to central government and special funding measures to assist with that. So Freeport is a massive, exciting opportunity for Thurrock. In terms of back to basics, what I talked about at the AGM, I'm pleased to say we are launching the Civic Recovery Task Force on the 1st of September. That will bring together a whole manner of agencies and organisations, voluntary groups across Thurrock, including, hopefully, today I met with Essex Wildlife Trust, and hopefully all of those agencies working together will map out the borough and we'll just move through territory by territory and get things firstly smartened up, but secondly, we will enforce without mercy fly tipping, littering, scrambling bikes. It must end. You know, it's just completely out of control, unacceptable. You will have noticed from May, in fact, a massive increase in cleaning and greening. Most of the park's been cut. Most of the bush has been cut back. There are incidents, of course, around the borough where things don't look as smart as they should be. And what we're going to do as an administration, we're not going to be so relaxed about it. So if there's land beside a developer that's full of brambles and where the public can't jog and walk down it, or if there's a woodland that we own, urban woodland, for example, by Woodside Academy over in Little Thurrock, you can't walk through it at the moment. And what I'm saying to council officers, it's completely unacceptable. Thurrock Council has been through a financial trauma, but it's not an excuse for abandoning public realm. And I think we've got the right team in here now to address that, councillors and officers working together. I want to just speak slightly, quickly, on the Thameside Theatre. There's a lot of scaremongering around it. 3 or 4 years ago, it is in financial difficulty. It costs something like £700,000 a year to run. It's old. It was built in 1972. That all said, there's a great theatre in there. There's a great library in there. And there's a national class museum and associated history groups in there. That is the holy trinity of that building. And we've come in. It's been smartened up. If you go in there, in the foyer, and you walk through now, those 3 services are the prominent services in there. Over the next few weeks, new flower beds. The front will be painted. It will be smartened up. And it's open for business for this Christmas and for some time more at least under this administration. It is not closing under this administration. Thurrock needs libraries. It needs theatres. It needs museums. And we will not shut services like that under our administration. I must admit, when I came into office, I was slightly shocked that we hadn't engaged with businesses. We meet them sometimes, but there was no mechanism. So last Monday, we had 30 businesses in here for the first time in ages. We've set up a small business panel. And I listened to them for an hour and a half, and they said some really surprising things to me. And then they began to help one another, because some of them have got grant systems, you know, they can help other local entrepreneurs. Some of them complaints I thought I was going to get, I didn't get around parking and the rest of it. But what I did get was a massive thank you for getting them into the council chamber and listening. Businesses in Thurrock are the only things, really, that pay for the extras. You know, council tax pays for a lot of public services, but ultimately it's business rates that also pay for those and potentially in the future can pay for extras. Businesses are basically completely eclipsed, I think, at the moment in British politics. They're just taken for granted. More and more regulation, more and more tax, so many of them leaving the country. It's unacceptable and we need change. Locally in Thurrock, we've got 7,000 businesses. 98.4% are micro businesses or SMEs. And they were in here talking to us. You know, I was so impressed because you think of all their duties they've got, you know, the increasing paperwork, the authentication codes you need at HMRC, all the rest of it, everything that is holding businesses back. They came in here to listen to us and to share their stories. Those panels will meet quarterly. I'd invite councillors, please, to attend, just listen. I mean, we had 3 councillors come in and just listen the other night. And it will begin to percolate into policy. We'll achieve things from it, such as being able to reopen sports clubs. Some of them will fund roundabouts, football pitches, changing rooms, new cafe buildings. And I'm always aware that Google started out one man in the garage, and so did Apple. You know, so let's make friends with these people. Don't know where they'll be in sort of 20 or 30 years' time. But it was wonderful to see them. At the higher level, we will be introducing an estuary strategic business board that will bring together the much, much bigger players that are here already in Thurrock. We have reached out to some of these mega employers, and what I want to do, other boroughs do this, they do it very, very effectively, but they work with you as a team, and they identify really good funding pots. Together, they can regenerate a waterfront of a mile or 2 miles. We can't do that. We don't have the money. But what we can do is convene and bring these organisations together in organised mechanisms and work hand in glove with the Freeport. So there's a lot going on. Final thing I'd like to say, and we were upset by it all, was the death of Anne Widdecombe, who was taken from us. She didn't lose her life, she was taken from us for being a politician and for being outspoken. She was a devout Catholic. She was an esoteric political thinker. Her voice, her brain resonated with everyone on all sides of politics. I met her several times. Typically, it would be at the New Culture Forum lectures that she gave. And if you look back on her life, it's pretty flawless, really. Served as a Member of Parliament for Maidstone for many, many years, and as a Home Office Minister. And her ministerial career was ended early, probably because she spoke the truth to power. And that's why all of us in this room have been elected. It's what we're good at. So for me, Anne Widdecombe enriched British culture, and she expanded British public life with a special, unique, straight-talking, wise voice and brain. And she's been unjustly taken from us. Now, we've done a minute's silence earlier, but one thing we will do is the day after I met with the police chief here in Thurrock. We've also had meetings with the monitoring officer. We need to take these things very, very seriously. And so therefore, I've asked that we have an Operation Ford briefing here, and we have a security briefing here, and that if members, or staff for that matter, feel in any way unsafe, or they've got concerns, then there is practical support. It's not just words all the time. I think on that, really, I'd like to thank you all, everyone from every party, for your efforts since the AGM. I know everyone has hit the ground running. I know it's been a new experience for many of you, but I think you're doing a tremendous job. You're doing it in a really positive way, and I'm pleased in seeing really the work that you're doing alongside the hard-working officers here. And good luck over the next few weeks, and have a nice summer holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Item 5 is public questions. No public questions were received. Item 6 is petitions from members of the public and councillors. Please be advised that in accordance with the Council's petition scheme, no notices of petition have been received. Item 7 is update report in respect of those petitions presented at Council and Council offices. There are currently no ongoing petitions to list in the petition update report on page 19 of the agenda. Item 8, appointments to committees and outside bodies, statutory and other panels. Do members agree to the nominations made on pages 2 and 3 of the order paper?
Yep, agreed.
Please note the vacant appointments to committee and outside bodies on page 3 of the order paper. Are there any other changes to appointments? Item 9, appointment of the Chief Executive and Head of Paid Service. The leader, would you please introduce the report that can be found on page 21 to 28. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is an important time, actually, for Thurrock Council. Almost 4 years ago, we introduced intervention. We weren't here then, but there were quite tight conditions placed by the Department for Communities and Local Government back then, and subsequently from the new government that came in 2024. So we have commissioners in the authority until vesting day of South West Essex Council, May 2028. We've literally had a letter suggesting that because Thurrock is progressing so well, and we had a letter a couple of weeks ago from Minister McGovern, that they are minded to loosen some of the strings. And what that meant a few weeks ago is that we get to recruit our first council chief executive, and I'm pleased to announce the winning candidate. Now, you've got 8 pages there where you can sort of read their background. It's Deborah Ward, I'm pleased to announce, but I think she prefers to be called Debbie, actually. You know, so I think there were so many compelling reasons why she was unanimously accepted by a cross-party panel. I think, one, it's fair to say that she had taken a major council through local government reorganisation, and the one that she'd taken through, that area was a very tough environment and a tough reconfiguration from my knowledge, and a very, very strong professional background in housing, in directing housing services and housing regeneration, which is precisely what we need in Thurrock. It's fair to say that housing is a challenging department and a challenging portfolio for any portfolio holder or for any local authority. So I think we really do welcome Debbie's joining us, and I'm hoping that's imminently. You know, when I say that, public sector imminently, so end of August, beginning of September. So we look forward to that. What I would say is we hope, you know, this is a permanent arrangement, so we are assured that we have Debbie up until vesting day of the new authority. And of course, you can't predict the future, but ultimately, therefore, it provides stability. You know, we've got commissioners here, we've got a strong administration here, and now we have our new, very experienced chief executive. And I think, therefore, it bodes very, very well for the stability of Thurrock and providing public reassurance that Thurrock is in safe hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Apologies, we need to go back to item 8, so to get to an answer to members if they agree to the nominations made on pages 2 and 3 of the order paper.
Agree.
Do you agree? Okay. Thank you. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to speak? You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I welcome our new chief executive, and obviously I will be supporting this recommendation. I recognize that it was Commissioner's power to appoint chief executive, and I appreciate that he involved all political groups in this process. However, I do have reservations about how that process was conducted. I was not even informed that I was a member of the interview panel, but still I chose to attend. Cancelled all my other appointments at the very last minute because I did not want to politicize the process and believed it was important to contribute constructively to such a significant decision, as we all are here to serve people of Thurrock. I'm optimistic that our new chief executive will work openly and collaboratively with all political groups, councillors, staff, and communities, helping to restore confidence and move Thurrock forward. I wish her every success in this role, and I look forward to working together for the best of Thurrock and people of Thurrock. And I also take this opportunity to wish Dr. Dave Smith well and pass my best wishes for his new role in Slough. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas. Councillor Green, do you wish to speak? You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since Thurrock issued the Section 114 notice in 2022, the council has been rebuilding step by step. This report reflects that continuing progress. Under the previous Labour administration, more than 500 million of the council's debt was removed, marking an important milestone in Thurrock's recovery. That progress must continue. Residents rightly expect the council to maintain its focus on strong governance, sound finances and delivering better services. We cannot afford to lose the ground that has been made. I would like to acknowledge the departure of Dr. Dave Smith. He played an important role in helping to stabilise the council and provide direction during a very difficult period. I thank him for his service to Thurrock and wish him every success in his new role. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Green. This is an opportunity for members to speak. If you wish to contribute, please raise your hand. Each member will have up to 4 minutes to speak. Leader, do you wish to have your right of reply? You have 2 minutes.
I think everyone's made their point and everyone has different perspectives, which is why we stand here as part of democracy. Ultimately, we look forward to working with Debbie and we look forward to the configuration of the new senior management team as and when she decides what it is. I think Dr. Dave Smith has stewarded Thurrock extremely well as a commissioner here. He's been the managing director commissioner. And the team of commissioners has addressed the huge financial and structural position that the council was in, not just accrued over a single solar panel transaction that didn't go through committee and wasn't made at cabinet, but let's remind ourselves that the council was 1.5 billion in debt because of an accrued overspend by 2 other political parties before this new one took over. So we will run this administration financially soundly. I've seen cabinet members around the auditorium here working 12, 14-hour days going over spreadsheets, demanding questions, demanding more data. I get a sense that wasn't done before, frankly, by other elected members. And I'm very proud of their contribution to making Thurrock a lot more financially resilient in the future. It's simple Thatcherite economics, isn't it? You don't spend money that you don't have, and if you do, you end up giving future generations tons of debt. And that is the legacy of previous politicians in Thurrock. It won't be our legacy. Don't worry about it.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. I will proceed to recommendations 1.1 to 1.2 as set out in the report and on page 3 of the order paper. All those members in favour, please raise your hand. Do you need to count? That's unanimously carried. Okay. Item 10, the 2025 to 26 Overview and Scrutiny Annual Report. Leader, would you please introduce the report that can be found on pages 29 to 96? You have 5 minutes to speak.
Delighted to, Mr. Mayor. This report is a reflection of last year's overview and scrutiny functions. And I have to confess, I didn't spend a lot of time watching last year's scrutiny and overview videos and hold my hands up to that. So I can't really attest to whether it's an accurate report or not. What I can attest to is over the past few weeks, us really focusing on promoting scrutiny as a new administration. We've done internal training on that. We've had officer training on that. And we are clear that the best possible decisions made in life are from the best possible questions asked. It is a sign of leadership, it is a sign of public duty, a sign of commitment to your topic to ask searching questions. And just as a human being would like to develop that way, so we as an administration want to develop that way. We want to make the best possible decisions, but we know we can't do that if we don't ask the best questions. So for everybody in the room, please use the scrutiny function. And I'm not being ironic to the opposition parties. Please use it. All of us should challenge one another. We are spending public money. We should have nothing to hide. And where there are faults, we need to improve. And actually, when we improve and how we improve, we need to learn from how we've improved so we don't make faults in the future or we don't deteriorate. At the moment, we have very good school services. We've got great adult health care, adult health services. That's not where we were at when I got elected many, many years ago here. So Thurrock's massively improved because of good decision-making often. Not on the financial side, obviously. But ultimately, scrutiny is as important, I think, as cabinet decision-making. And I'm happy to, therefore, put this report to the council.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to speak? You have 4 minutes.
Thank you, Leader, for your report, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thank all the former chairs of ONS committees for their hard work and commitment. Holding the administration to account and scrutinizing its work is never an easy task, but it's an essential part of good governance. I understand that we are small opposition groups here, and that the administration now holds all the overview and scrutiny chairs positions. So for new chairs and administration, effective scrutiny benefits everyone. It leads to better decision-making, greater transparency, and stronger outcome for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas. Councillor Green, do you wish to speak? You have 4 minutes.
Thank you. I welcome the annual overview and scrutiny report, and we are pleased to support it. The report shows that scrutiny has continued to develop and is making a positive contributions to the council's work. It reflects the strong foundations built in recent years and the shared commitments to effective governance and accountability for Thurrock residents. One decision is worth recognising. The previous Labour administration chose to allocate the overview and scrutiny chair positions to opposition members. That reflects Labour's belief that good governance depends on open, effective scrutiny and constructive challenge. The report highlights closer working between scrutiny and cabinet, better planning, improved monitoring of recommendations and a more constructive approach to holding decision makers to account. The figures support that progress. Scrutiny representatives attended 7 of the 9 cabinet meetings. Cabinet members attended 18 scrutiny meetings, 16 briefing notes were submitted to Cabinet, and every formal recommendation from scrutiny was accepted by that Cabinet. This shows that scrutiny is playing an important role in shaping decisions. I also welcome the investment in member development, training, external support for chairs, and closer working with the Centre for Governance and Scrutiny have strengthened the effectiveness of the committees for the benefit of the whole council. The report is also realistic. It recognises that there is more to do, particularly to encourage wider member involvement and greater public participation. Continuous improvement should remain our shared goal. I would like to thank the scrutiny chairs, committee members, co-opted members, officers and external partners for their commitment and hard work throughout the year. Their contribution continues to support Thurrock's improvement. We are pleased to support this report and look forward to scrutiny continuing to strengthen in the years ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Green. This is an opportunity for members to speak. If you wish to contribute, please raise your hand. Each member will have up to 4 minutes to speak. Leader, do you wish to have your right of reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really liked what Councillor Green said around scrutiny. It is meant to be non-political. You know, it is meant to examine issues, you know, whether it's internal to the council or whether it's an external agency or partner, and come up with sensible decision. And then if they're sensible, of course, Cabinet tends to accept them. But I do also think public scrutiny of us is important. And so I do wonder, if somebody is so passionate about scrutiny, why is it that we had 2 rounds of elections blocked by certain political parties over the last couple of years? So I think if you're going to really believe in scrutiny in a backroom committee, please believe in it also in a front room ballot box.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. I will proceed to recommendation 1.1 as set out in the report and on page 3 of the order paper. All those members in favour, please raise your hand. I therefore declare the recommendation carried. Item 11 is review of members' allowances. Leader, would you please introduce the report that can be found on pages 97 to 110? You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. With these issues, just to explain, that they are usually handed over to an independent remuneration panel. So I would just refer members to the pages 97 to 110 and ask them to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I will be supporting this because, as the Leader has mentioned, this is a recommendation from independent panel. But I'm pleased to note the administration has removed deputy cabinet members, which last administration created a lot of jobs for their fellow councillors, and it represents a budget saving now. So thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas. Councillor Green, do you wish to speak? This is an opportunity for members to speak. If you wish to contribute, please raise your hand. Each member will have up to 4 minutes to speak. Leader, do you wish to have your right of reply?
No, Mr. Mayor, it's fine. Just recommend the report.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. I will proceed to recommendations 2.1 to 2.1.7 as set out in the report and on page 4 of the order paper. All those members in favour, raise your hand. please put your hands down. All those members against? All those members abstaining. I therefore declare those recommendations carried. Item 12 is questions from members. Member questions can be found on page 111 and 112 of the agenda. I would ask those members who have submitted questions to please read out their question when asked to do so. I will take questions to the leader first. Question 1 from Councillor Abbas to the leader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Leader, thank you for agreeing to hold the Srebrenica Memorial Service this month. It is clear that some elements in this council are using these important events to create community tensions and downplay the importance of such services. Can you please confirm and commit that your administration will hold all councils recognized remembrance events, including annual Srebrenica and Holocaust memorial services?
Thanks, Councillor Abbas, and it is a good question. Absolutely, without condition. And I was very pleased that we worked together on the Srebrenica Memorial and your contribution on that. But be under no doubt, nothing has changed. On day one, we did the right thing, which was to fly the flag of Thurrock by Thames to all peoples of the world, to remind our borough residents that we have an identity, we have a purpose, and we have a geography that we're proud of.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Supplementary questions must arise from the content of the response given by the Cabinet member and not to ask a different question. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to pose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Leader, for your assurance. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked about the date and arrangements for this memorial event, but my emails were ignored. Survivors were also told that your administration did not wish to hold any such events. When I spoke with you and Deputy Leader, we all, including members of Bosnian community, were given incorrect and misleading information by those responsible for organizing these events. Can you please provide assurance that this will not happen again and that the appropriate action will be taken to address the failings of those responsible? Thank you.
Councillor Abbas, you do I appreciate the sensitivities of a public debate with video running, and you made your points more specific to me a couple of weeks ago at the Srebrenica Memorial. Let's be under no illusion here. We absolutely, unconditionally support these types of events. Memorials, commemorations, celebrations, nothing changes. In fact, we're probably more engaged in it than some other parties that do it as a tick box exercise. So you have my complete and utter assurance that we're working seriously on this. What I would propose for National Holocaust Memorial Day is that the three parties get together and organise an event in Thurrock, which is special and which is poignant. But we need to move beyond these signature events and develop a proper calendar, I think, among ourselves, because there's many things that we're missing, and there's many things that we should be celebrating, perhaps that the school's aware of, but that the council's not aware of. So I think there is a job of work to be done from all of us, frankly, if we can get together on that. The issues that you allude to, which I think I know you're alluding to, I believe have been addressed, and you are right to raise them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to pose a secondary supplementary question? Item 13 is question 2 from Councillor Abbas to the leader. Councillor Abbas, please read out your question as set out on page 111 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Leader, there are widespread concerns within some communities that some kingdom employees are aggressively targeting members of ethnic communities and issuing penalty notices without sufficient evidence or clear explanation. As we know, kingdom's employees' videos and news were circulating in national press outlets showing their shocking behavior. Can you please outline what, if any, mechanism are in place to monitor the conduct and professional standards of outside contractors and operatives? Thank you.
Leader, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas, and thanks for the question. The Council does take the conduct of employees and contractors very, very importantly and carefully. We monitor where there are complaints, we monitor and we actively monitor in terms of if there's patterns of complaints, etc. You will know that the security contractors and events contractors are under their own regulations, you know, whether it's the SIA or whether it's other trade professional monitoring and accreditations as well. But also, ultimately, there's contract management arrangements that we have where we do active monitoring upon any procurement or sensitive procurement that we do. Those cases, as I understand it, are not related to many Kingdom employees. They're related to a small number, and they're not related to Thurrock per se. There's a flip side to this, and it feeds into our civic recovery programme, where if we're going to smarten up the borough and we're going to end antisocial behaviour, we do need to bring in more enforcement, and we do need to crack down on things like the dropping of cigarette butts, spitting, littering. And unfortunately, some people claim to be innocent. And so we have to have these mechanisms for understanding what has occurred and are people really innocent. And that mechanism could involve a lapel CCTV camera that captures images 60 seconds before. It could involve risk assessing afterwards, after issuing a fixed penalty notice. You risk assess whether that was the right application of such. The department would do that if people put in a complaint. But ultimately, we have to have the confidence that people who are enforcing the laws here are backed up by Thurrock Council, the commissioning body, and by the courts. And if people really, really feel strongly that they're innocent and that the case is flawed, they can opt to go through to the court system. I can reassure us in here as elected members, and I know personally because I've seen these monitoring processes in place. I mean, I supervise that portfolio enforcement, that when there are contentious issues, it is very, very closely looked at. And the actions of the staff members and the contractors is really evaluated closely. I've got confidence in that. However, if there is a case where there's an abnormality, where any employee or any contractor of the council, I won't name the company, then we will make investigations against them, we will report them to regulators, and if necessary, we will prosecute them for bad behaviour. We won't cover it up. But this is a great question, and thank you.
Supplementary questions must arise from the content of the response given by the Cabinet member and not to ask a different question. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to pose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for clarity, we all want our borough to be clean and tidy, but fixed penalty notices must be issued in a transparent and fair manner, supported by clear evidence. In some cases, Kingdom employees twisted specific words to meet legal threshold with a clear intention that the alleged offenders are in many cases the victims, do not understand why they were being stopped or issuing fines. Will you ensure, I know you did mention they have their own mechanism, but here they pretend to work as an employee of Thurrock Council. I had these conversations with senior officers on the wording, how they approach these people. But can you ensure the Kingdom employees follow the same standards of conduct, professionalism, and accountability expected of council staff when acting on behalf of Thurrock Council? And will you also review the training and oversight arrangements to ensure enforcement is carried out in a and transparent manner? Thank you.
I think you raise good points. I'm not going to disparage an entire company because there's allegations against a small number of employees. I think that would be wrong to do that as a figurehead. You know, and there are definitely issues to look at that have arisen from that video, and there's investigations going into it. And I repeat what I said in my previous answer. No one is above the law. So if individuals in Thurrock, whether employed by that company or by others or by Thurrock Council, if they break the law, or we suspect them of breaking the law, or we suspect them of some form of bullying or corrupt practices, we won't behave any different to if it was an external person. We will investigate, and if it's a matter for the police to examine, we will report it to police for investigation. I don't want to specify this and attribute it to one company, because there's millions of companies out there. Some of their employees do the wrong things, and their reputation should not be besmirched by it. And I repeat what I said. We will, without fear or favour, make our streets safe and clean. And that involves policing the streets, having street wardens, issuing fines, backing our staff when they do those things, unless they prove us otherwise not suitable for that backing.
Councillor Abbas, do you wish to pose a second supplementary question? Question 3 from Councillor Hollenbach to the Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My question to the Leader. Councillor Bingley, for many years now, it's been a very well-known fact, with obtaining a large amount of evidence in support thereof, that we have an unprecedented dust issue in Tilbury, both in my ward of Tilbury Riverside and also Tilbury St Chad's. This dust, mainly as a result of a few bad actors in Tilbury docks, is and has been for many years causing real frustration and anger amongst residents in relation to health conditions and the right to fully and freely enjoy unimpeded rights to property. This was one of the main issues, along with fly tipping, we encountered whilst knocking on doors. Therefore, the residents of Tilbury would like to know if the Council and Environmental Enforcement is aware of the seriousness and enormity of this problem we are facing, specifically relating to the lack of dust suppression by a certain few companies. And is there any plan in place together to work with these companies to mitigate these adverse consequences it's having on our community? Thank you.
Leader, please respond to the question.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. And I mean, firstly, congratulations on making your maiden question. It was such a long question, it's almost a maiden speech, but I guess that's to come. To me, as Leader and indeed Leader on Enforcement, what I would say is you raise an interesting point, and one that most of us know very, very well. Thurrock overall is very dusty. It's industrially polluted. There's a lot of kind of heavy industry here and stone-related industry here, etc. So the air quality here across the borough is poor. It's particularly poor in Tilbury. There's local things that we've been doing since April. There's been a dust hotline, so actually residents can call in and call for measurements, etc. The Cabinet member, and indeed myself tomorrow, but I'm going down to the Port of Tilbury and I'll be raising that on the agenda, but the Cabinet member has been speaking with the organisations that you cite in your question. I think ultimately it's one of those ones where everyone wants to help, but everyone also feels disempowered. So coming back on the reason why we're setting up a big business forum with the organisations you cite in here is so we can get around a table, go through an agenda, a list of agenda items, and put environmental pollution on there and say to them, guys, what are you going to do about it? And that we will be monitoring that. And to their credit, when I've spoken with one of those organisations at Freeport, they actually raised that issue with me You know, a lot of corporations want to give massive amounts back to the communities they're in. Tilbury Docks has been there 140 years now. You know, it generated the first housing estates down in Tilbury. So on all of that, I think we're all team players. It's just sometimes team players need to speak to one another and take collective action. So we're early in the administration, and we will be asking for solutions from them, and also looking at technologies. I mean, they're going to have the money to provide technologies. So all of that we will be doing, and I'd suggest maybe come into those meetings, also ask the question again 6 months' time, you know, what's the update, leader? What have you got from these guys? And I will, if companies do not want to protect our environment, if developers do not want to build nice family homes with communal spaces and infrastructure, they won't be welcome in Thurrock. Now, there might not be a lot I can do about it because Angela Rayner's back, you know, and wanting to sort of develop huge amounts of housing and the rest of it. But the one thing we do have is a voice. And this county, over hundreds of years, since the days of Wat Tyler, and before that, has been very, very loud in embarrassing people in powerful positions. And that's what we'll do if we don't get the proper answers.
Supplementary questions must arise from the content of the response given by the Cabinet member and not to ask a different question. Councillor Hollenbach, do you wish to pose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no supplementary question. I just would like to thank the leader for his support. Thank you very much.
Councillor Hollenbach, do you wish to pose a second supplementary question?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I will now move on to the 3 questions to Cabinet members. Question 1 from Councillor Abbas to Councillor M. Bingley. Councillor Abbas, please read out your question as set out on page 112 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Portfolio holder, there are many concerns about restructuring and recent protests at Gray's Convent School and its impact on students. Can you please update us on what action you have taken to engage with relevant stakeholders to resolve these issues? Thank you.
Councillor Bingley, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas, for your question. Grace Convent School continues to face significant financial challenges with a deficit position that requires urgent and sustainable action to secure the school's long-term viability. The Council is working closely with school leaders and the governing body to fully understand the financial pressures and identify measures to address them. A robust recovery plan will need to be developed and formally agreed with the local authority, setting out clear actions, timescales and accountability arrangements to return the school to a sustainable financial footing while maintaining the quality of education and support provided to pupils.
Supplementary questions must arise from the content of the response given by the Cabinet member and not to ask a different question. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to pose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Councillor, for your response. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There has been many months of protests and educational loss of our Thurrock children. You know, I understand your response, but as an authority, it's our responsibility to ensure our children has full year education. Can you please ensure that you will work with school and new governing body and staff to ensure educational loss is covered and also an early intervention in such matters for any future incidents?
Thank you, Councillor Abbas. The officers are working with the management of the school, and I think you are referring to disruption to students' education. In relation to Section 19 provision during periods of industrial action, the responsibility for ensuring that the appropriate educational arrangements are in place rests with the school and its governing body. Where teaching staff undertake strike action and normal education provision is disrupted, schools are expected to take reasonable steps to secure suitable education for affected pupils. Council officers maintain contact with the school throughout the period of industrial action to seek assurance that the arrangements were in place and then the school's responsibility to pupils continued to be met. We are going to continue working with the school.
Councillor Abbas, do you wish to pose a second supplementary question?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your answers. I know this is your first time answering these questions as a portfolio holder, but there's a difference between making a contact and taking a solid steps. I know you did mention some sections, but here there are real children, our children, from Thurrock children and schools. So there hasn't been any significant, where we can see what council's involvement was there. I understand there has been contact, but contact and actions, normally there is a clear difference. Can you please make sure, obviously I wouldn't put you in a difficult position.
Councillor Abbas, can you tell us what your question is, please?
Mr. Mayor, this is question. Yeah, can you please ensure in next meeting, if you can outline what actions has been taken?
Thank you. I will speak to the officers and get answers for the members. But lots of the information is confidential that we might not be able to share. Thank you.
Question 2 from Councillor Pellin to Councillor Kelly. Councillor Pellin, please read out your question as set out on page 112 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So many residents have raised concern about the condition of our local parks, including litter, maintenance, and lack of equipment. Can you please confirm the plans for East Street, Palmerston Garden, and Southview parks, and what specific action will be taken to ensure these parks have usable equipment and are safe, accessible, and well maintained?
Thank you, Councillor Pellin, for your question there. All council-owned play areas are subject to a inspection regime. Sites are inspected weekly by the council's inspector, who identifies any defects, vandalism, damage or maintenance requirements. In addition, all play areas receive an annual inspection undertaken by a qualified external company for their independent view on the safety standards at those parks. The safety surfacing in Palmerston Gardens was topped up in 2025 in response to one of those inspections, and we recognise the concerns with the specific parks referenced East Street open space, which does not contain any significant play equipment and has regrettably become a hotspot for fly tipping in recent months. So that's something that myself and directors are going to have to keep a very close eye on. Southview Road open space and Palmerston Gardens both contain play facilities. However, they are relatively small sites and are less visible from the main roads, and again they've come susceptible to incidents of fly tipping and antisocial behaviour. So moving forward, we plan to undertake a play value inspection to assess how well each play area supports meaningful play for the children. And we've recently moved to a new operating model within the Clean and Green Service and are closely monitoring areas of need to determine where additional resources may be required. Under the new cleansing and parks maintenance schedule, East Street open space, Palmerston Gardens and Southview Road space all receive maintenance visits. In addition, arrangements are being made for these locations to be included within the programme outside core operating hours, so we can actually maintain them whilst children are not there, which will hopefully improve the accessibility of those play parks. And outside that, we will make sure that they're maintained to an appropriate standard. Thank you for your question.
Supplementary questions must arise from the content of the response given by the Cabinet member and not to ask a different question. Councillor Pellin, do you wish to pose a supplementary question?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kelly, for your answer. The East Street Park is a big park, but we almost no equipment or facilities. Yes, a goalpost was recently installed in our suggestion, but this park and other parks in our ward need more attention. It is also important to mention that I have learned that some people responsible for parks maintenance and facilities have no idea where the parks are. Can you please assure us that responsible people will visit all parks to understand their location and available facility before planning and work or replying to member queries?
Thank you very much. So that's a perfectly reasonable request you're making there. Absolutely, anyone who's in charge of these parks, whether it be our external workers or council officers inside this building, they should be aware of where these parks are. So absolutely, I'll pick that up with the director. In terms of improvements, we're trying to untangle Section 106 money at the moment. There's quite a lot of money in there at the moment. We've got myself and Councillor Points have requested every single Section 106 that's live at the moment. It's a box that big that we need to somehow get through, but ultimately I'm hopeful that we can find some money in there to start improving our parks and open spaces. And I'm also looking into the infrastructure requirement list to see if we can get that updated so when developments are taking place in wards like yours, these parks are earmarked for potential Section 106 money. Thank you.
Councillor Pelling, do you wish to pose a second supplementary question?
No, thank you.
Question 3 from Councillor Bartlett to Councillor Kelly. Councillor Bartlett, please read out your question as set out on page 112 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will the Council bring forward a clear, time-bound plan to tackle persistent fly tipping hotspots in Tilbury with increased enforcement, use of CCTV, improved reporting and faster clearance times, and how will its impact be measured and reported back to the residents?
Leader, please respond to the question.
I'll
Apologies,
take it.
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. Right, so thank you very much, Councillor Bartlett, for your question. I know you guys in Tilbury and all the new councillors are incredibly enthusiastic about trying to clear this fly tipping. So I would go on record and say the members' inquiries have been going crazy, and it's actually one of the best ways you can get involved in your areas and get these problems solved. But from an administrative point of view, we're absolutely determined to tackle fly tipping across Thurrock, including the hotspot locations that have been raised in recent months. Of course, fly tipping is unacceptable. It blights our neighbourhoods, damages the environment, undermines our civic pride and the effects of quality of life on residents who rightly expect to live in safe and attractive communities. We're committed to bringing forward a clear, targeted and time-bound approach to address fly tipping hotspots. This will include a combination of increased enforcement activity, intelligent-led development and CCTV where appropriate. I know many councillors have raised the subject of surveillance in these hotspot areas, so that's something we're looking into. We know that effective action requires both prevention and enforcement, and we'll continue to work closely with residents, businesses and partner agencies to identify offenders and take robust action wherever evidence allows. This forms part of the administration's wider plan to improve civic pride across the borough and ensure that residents can be found and proud of the places in which they live through our Pride in Place programme. Just a couple of points. The council will clean fly tip that's on roads and pathways as quick as possible. There are some occasions where they need to leave the fly tip there because there is a possibility that we can catch the culprits through enforcement. But yeah, the best way, if you see it, report it, and we'll get it cleaned up. Thank you.
Supplementary questions must arise from the content of the response given by the Cabinet member and not to ask a different question. Councillor Bartlett, do you wish to pose a supplementary question?
Yes, please. Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Where evidence is sent in by residents, can we use this to prosecute and name the people that we catch? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so different types of fly tip, it depends. If it's rubble, that normally gets left. If it is that we can find who dumped that there, then they will look into that. Normally, It's not actually, if you find a box and it's got a resident's address on it, it's not normally them that's done it. They have paid somebody to dispose of their waste incorrectly. So we do need to get better education to our residents to make sure that when they are handing over their waste, they are making sure that they're viable companies that have got the correct registration. So we have a lot of education around that in Thurrock, and we also have a recycling program where residents can hand over any of their furniture or anything like that to sort of charity shops, etc. We have Limpford tip that they can go to, and there's a new shop there. In terms of naming and shaming, that's something that I'll just have to check with enforcement. Normally they are, but if that's something that you want to explore, we could potentially look into that. Thank you.
Councillor Bartlett, do you wish to pose a second supplementary question?
No, thank you.
Item 13 is reports from members representing the council on outside bodies. Councillor Willoughby, I understand you would like to provide an update on the Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education annual report. A copy of the report will be emailed to members following this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, as Mr. Mayor said, it is the usual practice that the report is published after the meeting, and that will go out this evening. I would encourage all members to read the report because it's very interesting from what is going on in schools. It's some good information on examination results that different schools are attaining on religious instruction. So I would definitely recommend that people look at that report, and if you have any questions, then obviously please ask us. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the SACRA members for their dedication and contribution throughout the previous year. And of course, since that report was put together, we have new members on the committee now, in fact, 2 of which were named this evening. And I have every confidence that we will continue to work with the same due diligence as we have done up till now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Does any other member who represents the council on outside bodies wish to present a report? Councillor Cherry.
Thank you, Mayor. It's just a very brief one. I represent Thurrock Council on the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioners Board. And tomorrow, at 2 o'clock, we've got our meeting at Chelmsford where we'll be meeting and discussing the new Chief Constable for Essex, Rachel Nolan. And once we hear tomorrow the reasons for us supporting her as our new Chief Constable, we will make that decision tomorrow. But I think she's going to be a very good candidate for Essex. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cherry. Item 14 is minutes of the committees. These are listed on the contents page within the agenda. Item 15 is motions update report. There are currently no ongoing motions to list in the motions update report on page 113 of the agenda. Item 16, motion 1. Councillor Monk, please read out and speak on your motion as printed on page 115 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Net zero by 2030. Proposed in a motion by Councillor Garish in 2019. The motion also declared a climate emergency, stating that the Council had a duty to take the initiative to tackle climate change as quickly as possible. The motion today is not about denying climate change. This is about being responsible and looking after Thurrock, not putting the cart before the horse and putting pressure on ourselves chasing luxury politics. It's about moving vanity and virtue signalling away from our day-to-day running of the council and making the necessary decisions as we have been elected to do. Let me start by saying this. We already have statutory duties that are unaffected by the declaration of a climate emergency. So, the obvious question is why? Why should we rescind the 2019 motion if it won't make any difference to what we are currently or should be doing as a council. Because for the last nearly 7 years, we haven't gotten any closer to achieving it. Previous administrations have just ignored it, watered it down, and kicked the can down the road. We can change that today. Declaring a climate emergency in Thurrock was short-sighted, shallow, and clearly not the true focus of the previous administrations. In only January of this year, the council admitted that the previous investor-save model had been constrained by limited capacity, fragmented governance, and weakness on energy and carbon data, and it has since moved away from a strict interpretation of a net zero by 2030 target that would risk significant future cost. I'm not sure about you, but that sounds like admitting the target will not be achieved to me. In that meeting's notes, it was also stated that the Council has an obligation under the Climate Change Act 2008 to contribute to the net zero reduction of carbon emissions in the discharge of its functions and to comply with national targets on the reduction of emissions by 2050. However, the motion I'm referring to from 2019 put in place a self-imposed target in order to bring that deadline forward by 20 years. With 4 years to go, this is beyond unachievable. So how does this motion set us apart from previous years and give Thurrock a fresh start? The motion sets out a clear commitment by reviewing the Council's policies to ensure we protect the environment for future generations. It shows that we are willing, not weak. Working hard, not watering down to bypass outdated motions. It puts us back in line with national guidance and other councils that are seeing that net zero by 2030 simply isn't going to happen. Above all else, we have been elected with a huge majority, and to me, that says that we have to tear up the nonsense. I encourage all members to vote with me today to bring back common sense. The motion is to rescind in its entirety the Council motion of the 23rd of October 2019 declaring a climate emergency, and to note that the Leader, Cabinet and officers will review the Council's policies and activities towards net zero to reflect the administration's policies to protect the environment and ensuring the Council's compliance with its legal obligations, national and regional policies and statutory guidance. Thank you.
I understand that Councillor Kelly will second the motion. Councillor Kelly, would you like to speak now or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate?
Speak now, please. Thank you. Thank you, and of course I will be happy to support Councillor Monk's motion. The government's rush to net zero, whilst met with good intentions, it's clear as the year goes by that it's simply not working. Here in Thurrock, it's threatening households, industry and long-term prosperity, all while delivering negligible global impacts on emissions. They translate into high bills for businesses and families. Net zero policies are already adding substantial costs to the cost of living. The UK has now some of the highest domestic electrical prices in the developed world, and that hits home here in Thurrock because we are very heavily industrialised. The UK has shifted from net exporter to net importer of oil and gas, worsening the trade balance. The productivity slowdown since the early 2000s coincides with declining reliable electrical supply and rising energy costs. The UK accounts for roughly 1% of global emissions. Even aggressive domestic action has minimal impact on worldwide temperatures or climate outcomes. We can and we should pursue sensible environmental improvements, innovation in nuclear, energy efficiency and research. But it's time for honesty. The public was sold net zero on optimistic numbers. The UK should be prioritising cheaper, reliable energy, which is essential for growth, jobs and living standards. As a local authority, we can send a clear message that net zero policies hit the most vulnerable in society the most, as it's them that struggle with the cost of living crisis and heating their homes in the winter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. This is an opportunity for members to speak. If you wish to contribute, please raise your hand. Each member will have up to 4 minutes to speak. Councillor Cherry. Apologies. Councillor Green.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It will come as no surprise that we'll be voting against this motion. This is similar to motions put forward by councils across the country with little to Thurrock. Before we debate it, it's important, especially for our new councillors, to consider the facts. In January, the Place Overview and Scrutiny Committee received a report setting out the council's revised approach to climate change. That approach focused on making the best use of existing resources, investor-safe projects and external funding, rather than concentrating on a single target date. It prioritised reducing carbon emissions, improving energy efficiency and lowering costs for residents. We've already seen the benefits. The retrofit of 3 high-rise blocks in Chadwell St Mary, replace old electric storage heaters with a networked heat pump system serving 273 homes. Funded through 3.2 million from the government's Social Housing Decarbonisation Fund. The project cuts residents' heating and hot water bills by an average of 66% and reduced carbon emissions by 70%. It also received national recognition as the Business Green Renewable Energy Project of the Year. The January report also made clear that stepping away from this approach can make it harder for the Council to meet its responsibilities under the National Planning Policy Framework and could reduce access to external funding. That would mean missed opportunities to improve homes and reduce energy for Thurrocks. I therefore ask the leader to continue to show the same commitment to climate change that he demonstrated as the Conservative leader for Plymouth City Council, where he created a cabinet post dedicated to this important area. Thurrock residents deserve the same level of ambition. If this motion is passed, can the administration assure residents that Thurrock will continue to secure the investment needed to deliver projects like the successful Chadwell scheme, helping to reduce both carbon emissions and household energy bills? For those reasons, we cannot support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Monk? Oh, excuse me. Oh, apologies. Councillor Jerry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a demonstration from this council regards what's going on in the country, really. We need to take a stand. There are some great benefits that Aaron has mentioned, but, you know, all houses, you know, in privately owned and council invest in insulation, good windows. That's something that can still happen. But the thing is, at the moment, because of this policy that's been going on across the, not only in Thurrock, but across the country, we've given up on our North Sea industry. We're relying on other countries for our energy security at a time when we could be facing a war with Russia. The whole policy around net zero is weakening this country, weakening our industry. I even believe that the Net Zero Act led to some of the decisions to invest in this crazy solar panel Ponzi scheme that's happened in Thurrock. You know, let's please the God of net zero by investing or borrowing money from other councils, investing crazily in this solar panel scheme and putting the whole of Thurrock in a massive debt. So I will be supporting this because it needs to be said that the net zero God is bankrupting this country and putting us in severe danger. We can still, as a council, look after our council properties, make them warmer. But the thing is, council tenants and private tenants are paying a lot of money for their energy just for net zero, and that's got to stop.
Thank you, Councillor Cherry. Councillor Monk, do you wish to have your right of reply? You have 2 minutes.
I will just say a couple of things. First of all, this motion isn't about getting rid of net zero, because we can't do that. We'll still be on track to be net zero by 2050 because of groups that we have within the council working with our place directorate. I will go against slightly one thing that Councillor Cherry has said a bit unconventionally, because exactly what I've just said. Net zero won't be dead because of this. We're purely stopping the target, bringing it forward by 20 years. So that's pretty much that. And lastly, when you say a lot of benefits have come from it, the main thing is that there was no data to support that we should do that, or it wasn't collected anyway. There was a 2019 baseline and absolutely nothing else as far as I was told, so I disagree with that bit.
Thank you, Councillor Monk. I'll now proceed to the vote. All those members in favour, raise your hands. You can put your hands down now, please. All those members against, raise your hands. And all those members abstaining. I declare the motion has been carried. Motion 2, Councillor Abbas, please read out and speak on your motion as printed on page 115 of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have raised my concerns about conditions of council-adopted memorials and cemeteries previously and again on 25th of May and 21st of June this year. The administration has since recognized the importance of improving their maintenance, which is a welcome development. Memorials and cemeteries are places of remembrance, reflection, and historical significance for residents and should be maintained to a high standard throughout the year. The Council commits to the regular maintenance of all Council-adopted memorials and cemeteries and to ensure that every Council-adopted memorials and cemetery is inspected and maintained regularly. The Council also commits that the relevant officers regularly visit and monitor the conditions of these sites to ensure memorials and cemeteries remain respectful, safe, and accessible for all residents. Mr. Mayor, this is a simple, non-political, but very important motion. Over the years, I have seen the condition of a number of war memorials across Thurrock, including in West Thurrock, Little Thurrock, and South Ockendon, and many cemeteries. I have raised these concerns previously because I believe we have a duty to care for these important sites. I recognize that some memorials are more challenging and costly to maintain than others, and I understand the financial pressure facing the Council. However, this is about priorities. It's about protecting and respecting the memory of those who gave their lives for our freedom and democracy. There is also external support available, Mr. Mayor. Organizations such as the War Memorials Trust and other funding bodies offer grants and advice. We should actively explore those opportunities to reduce the financial burden on the Council while ensuring these memorials and cemeteries receive the care they deserve. This motion is about showing respect for our shared history and for those who made the ultimate sacrifices. I therefore ask all members, regardless of political affiliation, to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas. Is that seconded? Councillor Pellin, would you like to speak now or reserve the right to speak later?
Speak now, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second this important motion. I recently attended the Srebrenica memorial event in Gracetown Park with Mr. Mayor, leaders, deputy leader, Councillor Abbas, and members of different communities. We all noted that almost all park area was recently cut and maintained, except the very location of this council adopted memorial and tree. The survivor of Bosnian genocide literally had to remove the underground grass by their hands to make the site presentable for this memorial service. That was shocking and is unacceptable. Memorial and cemeteries are places of remembrance, reflection, and historical significance. These deserve to be maintained to a high standard as a mark of respect for those members, to remember their family, survivor, and our wider community. I ask all members to support this motion to ensure that memorial sites and cemeteries across our borough receive the care and respect they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pellin. This is an opportunity for members to speak. If you wish to contribute, please raise your hand. Each member will have up to 4 minutes to speak. Councillor Bingley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good motion. I think everybody, how could they disagree with the motion before us? It comes back, you know, Councillor Abbas is right, it comes back to the presentation of our borough, and memorials, war memorials there's nothing more important than how they're presented, and it kind of tells you something about what authorities think about a borough if memorials are not tended to and kept pristine. And frankly, I was disturbed around some of the issues that you raised correctly to me offline, and they've been raised in the chamber publicly tonight. The state of that memorial stone was unacceptable and was an embarrassment to Thurrock Council. And you've raised it tonight, and I don't hesitate in agreeing with you. And that's why we've got a Civic Pride task force. It's to make sure there's a borough-wide task force that maps out the borough, yard by yard, acre by acre, and that things like that don't ever happen again. It's not just us that manages memorials, and let's think that sometimes you see war memorials in churches that are not tended to. I can't help but noticing a couple of churches that were not showing particular amounts of civic pride. When I was jogging past them a few weeks ago, the state of the war memorials in there, and you hear some of the excuses, you know, around about long grassing and being pro-environment. You can't be any more anti-environment than not looking after your war memorials. And this administration completely supports, Councillor Abbas, what you've said. And I hope we get a unity tonight. I hope there's a complete cross-party consensus that the words in here are translated into action forthwith.
Thank you, Councillor Bingley. Councillor Shinnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support this motion, only when I was mayor, I had the privilege of going round putting the crosses at the war graves in Thurrock. And I was quite appalled by the state, you know, of the cemeteries. So, you know, if we can do anything to make them more respectable for the residents, because their loved ones are in these cemeteries, is a good thing. And quite often at the cemetery over Chadwell St Mary, which the previous leader always used to speak about, the bins are quite often overfilled there, and it would be nice to see this, you know, tidied up. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shinnick. Councillor Cherry.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a shame in the sense that we need to have a motion, but I will support it because, in particular, you mentioned South Ockendon's war memorial. I noticed that the the reefs were there, and they were there for a long time. And I asked for the council to remove the reefs and reefs across the borough, other war memorials. And perhaps we should fix a date for when the reefs are no longer necessary at those memorials, because it's a bit of a difficult one. You know, how long do you leave them there for? But there needs to be a date, because they then need to be cleared of the reefs and tidied and made to look good. You also mentioned the cemeteries. I mean, I've adopted my local cemetery. I regularly litter pick it. I challenge drinkers. I challenge people using drugs. I challenge anybody in my local cemetery who's using it not as a cemetery. Only today and yesterday was the same. And I also report overflowing bins. It's a regular thing at Gray's new cemetery, that the bins, especially at the weekend, will get filled. And then, of course, that rubbish gets blown around the cemetery, and it creates, you know, a bit of a mess. And my local cemetery needs cutting. But I've been reassured that that's going to happen, and it does happen. But there's more and more places in Thurrock that need to be cut. And with our Pride in Place policy going forward, there are going to be improvements. So, yeah, I can support the motion, but it's a shame that it's necessary to have it. But going forward, I think we will do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jury. Councillor Abbas, do you wish to have your right of reply?
No, Mr. Mayor, I just want to thank everyone, for supporting this motion, and I would request you to proceed to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Abbas. I will now proceed to the vote. All those members in favour, raise your hand. I declare the motion has been carried. That concludes the business of the meeting this evening, and I now declare the meeting closed at 9:44. 8:44 p.m.